Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now August 13th of 2023, and as we get closer to the release date of the Ahsoka Tano series on August 23rd with its 2-episode debut and premiere, it's going to be interesting to see what the fan feedback is going to look like. This is really going to be a telltale of where Star Wars is heading and exactly where the fans' mindsets are really placed at. However, more importantly, focusing here on Kathleen Kennedy, she really has been in an up and down roller coaster, both emotionally and of course on the business end of the spectrum over at Lucasfilm, and everything that has been happening with all of the upcoming Star Wars projects and the current situation surrounding Indiana Jones 5. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into exactly what's going on here with Kathleen Kennedy. Now, as you all know and have been very well aware, Kathleen Kennedy does not support George Lucas, nor does she support his overall vision and philosophy of Star Wars. This is exactly why she hired somebody like Leslye Headland in the first place, to take control of the Acolyte series and to also take control of the Acolyte spin-off show that's supposedly going to feature actress Brie Larson. They're currently in the process of getting her on board, portraying a main lead or a main role in that series. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But what's interesting about all of this is exactly what Kathleen Kennedy had to say to all Star Wars fans out there alike, and specifically how it truly insults the core fan base of the Star Wars franchise. Let's get into it. Now, with Kathleen Kennedy currently going through many struggles with the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, which, by the way, that's going to be delayed, as those shows are facing planned reshoots, which are delayed due to the ongoing writers' strike and everything happening with SAG, Kennedy recently had something crucial to deliver to the public by stating the following. The main problem that we deal with when it comes to Star Wars fans is that they tend to be very unrealistic with what they want and demand to see in the shows and films, which is something that blocks our creators' vision. We believe our best way of course correcting the franchise and bringing it to a new level of success is by ignoring the fans and the entire fandom to achieve our dreams with all the future shows that we have mapped out and are trying to organize. This is what we did with the Acolyte, and this is what we also applied with Skeleton Crew. We felt it was necessary to shift away from fans that deeply supported George Lucas, as they held unrealistic expectations from these shows and films, and where, of course, they held unrealistic dreams for all of these different projects coming out of here over at Lucasfilm. I think those like Leslye Headland are a prime example of one who knows the most about Star Wars and why shifting away from George was the only answer to evolving the franchise to a new era. Now guys, let me just pause here for one moment before I get to the next thing that she talks about. You guys may or may not recall, we touched on this about 2 weeks ago, about how Leslye Headland came forward and said that she believes that George Lucas is not the key to Star Wars and that nothing about George Lucas really resonates with the core philosophy of the franchise, that she really needed to restructure everything going on in the High Republic era and how it's going to have a very big impact on how you all view the prequel trilogy movies, whether it be Revenge of the Sith or The Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones, it doesn't matter. It's going to impact all three of those movies with the Acolyte series. Now, I've said this several times. I heavily do believe that the Acolyte is going to have a bigger backlash by the fans than The Last Jedi for that very given reason. The fact that not only does it divert from George Lucas's vision of Star Wars entirely, but that it also completely dismantles the prequel trilogy movies and everything that George built up throughout the 1990s and the early 2000s, and how that also leads into the Clone Wars. Let's face it. So when you look at people like Leslye Headland and how Kathleen Kennedy is literally insulting the fans here about how she knows better than George Lucas and how she knows better than any other creator out there, she's really putting her on this pedestal as like the grand Star Wars creator that knows all. And I think that's the problem with Kathleen Kennedy, is that she's putting all her faith in Leslye Headland of taking control of The Acolyte, which, by the way, is going to be the main Star Wars show of 2024, mind you, even over Andor Season 2. So just keep that in mind. If you guys are looking forward to Star Wars material next year, really and only, The Acolyte is going to be the main show besides Andor. That's it. So there's going to be one other mystery project, more around the lines of the status of Skeleton Crew, and that's really going to be the cap of 2024. But moving onwards, she goes on to elaborate further. Our goal is to embrace new fans only and to let go from the burden of the older fans that cling to believing that George is the only answer to creating quality material. We began seeing fans showing this behavior also with John and Dave, as if they are the only ones that can create stories of value. And we are proud to announce that Leslye, by detaching, of course, from the burden of George's vision, will finally be able to show a story like never before that is going to retell Star Wars and reshape it from within and the entire franchise. This is something that we should have done long ago, and we believe this is the step in the right direction to embrace success. Now again, I don't believe that this is going to fix anything. If anything, it's going to make it worse. Kathleen Kennedy is delusional. She knows absolutely nothing of what she is talking about. I don't even believe that she believes what she is saying. I believe that this is all just a part of devaluing the franchise, slapping the Star Wars logo on it, or the label, and promoting it to non-fans, right? That's basically what Kennedy's doing. That's what Leslye is doing, and that's also what Jon Watts signed up for. He, by the way, is the showrunner of Skeleton Crew, and he knows exactly what he's doing. You know, this is exactly why there was a falling out between both Jon Favreau and Jon Watts, and why they weren't really talking for a while between when Favreau was working on Mandalorian and when Watts was working on Skeleton Crew, is because Jon and Jon, the Battle of the Johns, were actually good friends when they were working on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And when Star Wars got into the equation, there was a little bit of a rift, you know, where they weren't really conversing, and there was a lot of radio silence there. So there's a lot of things happening here with Kathleen Kennedy, obviously. She is very much delusional. She wants to gravitate toward new fans only and wants to ignore the true fans that have purchased merchandise over the years, that have seen these movies multiple times over the years, be it the originals or the prequels, and even to a degree the sequels. Even though a lot of fans were very much upset with those films, you know, people gave Disney money, and she doesn't really seem to take that to note and really takes that for granted. So, like I said, guys, I would really love to hear your take on all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.